Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be working on this 1965 Thunderbird back here, and we're going to be installing what's in front of me here. We have a Holley Sniper EFI complete kit that's going to be bolting onto this 390 cubic inch Ford Efi engine. This is a direct replacement for any 4-barrel carburetor. I'm going to be showing you exactly how to install one of these kits, and I'm also going to show you how you can win one of these for yourself. So stay tuned to the end of this video. All right, inside the main box, we're going to have our Sniper 4-barrel unit. Built-in ECU right here on the front, a built-in map sensor, coolant temperature sensor, and also idle air control valve. So next box is going to have our main power harness right here. So this is a 30 amp fused power harness with a relay. This is going to power the Sniper, and also this blue lead is going to go all the way to the fuel pump. Also inside this box is a 3-inch LCD touchscreen, and you use this to keep track of all your readout information from the unit. Here is the input and output harness. There's a handful of different things that you could do with the Holley Sniper, like control nitrous, boost controllers, trans brake. We're not going to be doing any of those things. This is kind of just a mild build just to get the drivability of the EFI and the reliability of it. We have an engine coolant temperature sensor. We also have a coil driver. Also inside this box is going to be our oxygen sensor. The oxygen sensor is going to tell the air-fuel mixture to the Sniper. To install the oxygen sensor, they have a no-weld O2 bung, and they give us some nice wire loom to cover everything up. Moving on to the next box, we have most of our fuel system components. That Sniper unit actually has a built-in fuel pressure regulator. If you want, you can use an external regulator as well. We have a bunch of -6 fittings to made up our 3/8 style hose here. This hose is rated for biofuels also, so if you wanted to use E85. We also have post-pump filters and pre-pump filters. Make sure that that fuel is nice and clean going into the unit. Plenty of EFI hose clamps to go along with it. Can't forget about constructions, it's a very key component. So that about wraps it up for everything that's included on the boxes. Oh, almost forgot about the fuel pump. So inside the kit also comes with a high pressure 250 liter per hour fuel pump. This is an external pump. Holley also offers Sniper fuel tanks, electric EFI in-tank pumps, which we may be switching to just for the simple fact of being a little bit quieter than running a pump on the outside of the car. But like I said, the kit is 100% complete, so you're not going to have to be going to the parts store multiple times to pick up different parts and pieces, hoses, fittings. We're going to get started with the install, but stay tuned so you can find out how to enter to win the giveaway. Now, when we pulled off the old crusty 4-barrel carb, we realized we couldn't just slap that shiny new Sniper on a dirty motor. So we took the extra S2S step and yanked this thing out, cleaned it up, gave it some fresh paint, and of course some new brackets and accessories. None of this is necessary to install the Sniper, but it's just something we feel makes the upgrade complete. Alright, so the first step to installing the Holley Sniper unit is going to be removing the old carburetor, removing the vacuum lines, throttle linkage, fuel supply, and the 4 mounting bolts, and you should be able to remove your existing carburetor. With our kit comes a new gasket for the intake, and then bolted down using your existing hardware. So next I'm going to be installing our throttle linkage. Now there's a lot of different throttle linkages, different styles, different lengths. In our case we have a solid linkage style. If you're having trouble adapting your linkage to your Sniper throttle body, Holley offers a lot of different adaptations. Alright, so we got full travel. It's looking good. I'm going to be installing this ECT sensor. So I'm going to remove the original temp sender and put this one in here. This one is going to give all the coolant temp information to the Sniper ECU to make changes based off of coolant temperature. Very critical part of the EFI system. Next order of business, I'm going to be installing the Weldless O2 sensor. This is great for people who don't have a welder at home. I don't have to go bother Tim over there while he's busy. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out exactly where I want to have my O2 sensor. I don't want to go too far past where all the cylinders merge. You also don't want to have the O2 sensor any less than vertical or coming from the underneath of the pipe for it to collect any kind of condensation. So make sure that it's pointing upwards so you avoid any kind of fouling of the oxygen sensor. In most cases, our no-weld O2 sensor plate would work, but considering we have this aftermarket exhaust piece here, this is a 2-inch diameter pipe, and this plate just doesn't have the right contour to fit over something this small. We want a leak-free seal so we don't have any kind of drivability issues with this, so we're gonna weld a bone.
Make things happen.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to use this guy, but I'm sure in 99% of the applications you'll be able to go ahead and get away with using this bolt-on style, but not today. O2 sensor is finalized. Plenty of room just in front of all the linkage for the shifter. We're going to be using some of the Holley Sniper EFI Hyperspar components for the ignition system. These are a great complement to the Holley Sniper EFI system. It's not necessary, but you'll be able to do full digital control of the ignition system. Everything will be able to get tuned through your 3-inch LCD screen. And then also we have a stronger coil, great for idle quality, and it could potentially give us some horsepower. So I'm gonna get these guys installed before I finish off the wiring, so I know exactly where all of my ignition wire leads need to go. Sniper Kit gives you a cool little tool here. It looks like a clear distributor cap, but it's really just a tool to help you phase it to line up the sensor so it's pointed at number 1. So I'm going to move my distributor base just a little bit. So here's the main power supply harness. This is going to be our power supply to the fuel pump. This blue wire, black and red wire are going to be hooked up directly to the battery. And this is going to be our power feed and your ground for the unit and the fuel pump. We have here our pink wire. This is going to be our ignition switch source to turn everything on. These guys are going to be for our ignition pickup. So this is going to give our ignition signal to the Sniper unit. When you're going to be switching to electronic controlled ignition timing, you're going to have to use your ignition coil driver that they have supplied in the kit. When mounting our main harness here, you want to stay away from heat. You also want to stay away from moving parts. There's a lot of levers and bars. I believe I'm going to mount it right here on the firewall. Keep it easy to access the fuse and the relay if ever they need to be maintained. And then also I don't want to exceed the length of my power and my ground wire. Always be sure to remember when you're wiring these EFI units, you want to connect the power leads directly to the battery physically. Never a junction. Always have clean grounds. Having the right voltage to the EFI unit is a very big deal. Now all the battery supply stuff is completed. Now I'm going to move on to searching out a 12-volt ignition source with key on. So I'm going to have to go inside the car. Probably going to start at the fuse box first. Hopefully there's something open there. We're going to be looking for our switch 12-volt ignition source. All right. So I found our fuse box down here in the passenger side kit panel. So I'm going to pull out this paneling just so I can get a better view of everything. And if I need to, you know, tuck some wires or anything like that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is look for a switch 12-volt source here. I need my keys for that. So I'm going to end up splicing directly into this wire here. It's 12 volts on always while cranking. So this is the one that I'm going to be using. I'm going to go ahead and splice into this, get my ignition wire from the unit through the firewall into the cabin, and make that splice. So with my key on ignition switch power all figured out inside the car, the last wire we have is going to be our signal wire into our coil driver, which is going to be the points wire coming out of the 10-pin connector here. So it's this white wire. Our Holley sensor picks up the reference from the location of the engine. That goes into the Sniper right here through the 7-pin connector or so. From the ECU, that triggers the coil driver, which then fires the coil. So with all that wiring said and done, we're just about complete underneath the hood. The last bit of wiring that I have to do is running power to the back of the car for our fuel pump power. I wanted to go with an in-tank EFI pump for a couple of reasons. One reason being that the external pump is very loud. This is not a race car or anything like that by any means. The guy wants to just kind of cruise the vehicle. So a little bit less noise around the car is definitely helps for the atmosphere. Second reason is that this is a returnless style pump. So all I'm gonna have to do is run one feed line all the way to the front to replace the original fuel line in here. It's gonna simplify the system, keep it really quiet, nice in-tank pump, and it's gonna be extremely reliable. I've got my old sending unit pulled out of the tank. I have the new EFI unit here. This one isn't specific to this tank, but they're very similar. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the sending unit for the level and mount that on the new EFI pump, and I'm probably gonna have to elongate this hose just so it reaches all the way to the bottom of the tank and it rests on the bottom of the tank. All right, so now I've got my float separated from the original pickup. I've got my new pickup sock. I have my pump here separated, and I've got my longer length of hose. Now I gotta put them all together to make this thing work as one brand new sending unit. All right, so got my final length figured out. My sock is sitting on the bottom of the tank, so we'll never have any issue with fuel starvation. That's great. All I have to do now is get my level float, all right, to bottom out at the same spot that the pump pickup is. Now we just got to put this tank back in the car, run a couple soft lines to transition into our hard line here. I'm also going to add another filter in this section after the pump. And then we have to replace a small section of hose underneath the vehicle that leads up into the engine bay. I'm going to add my post pump filter, boom, right here in between our new sending unit and the stock line that's hanging out up here. Now we're back to the front, finalizing our last fuel system connection into the Sniper unit. And cool thing about the Sniper unit, there's actually 1, 2, 3 different inputs for the fuel system. This guy back here, this last port, is going to be designated for an output. We're using an in-tank electric pump that's already regulated inside the tank, and so we're just going to block this guy off. And I'm glad that we have multiple inputs, because in our case, you see we have all the solid linkage back here for the kickdown cable and our throttle. So instead of being able to come straight from the back, we're just going to come through in the front. Everything on the exterior of the car revolving around the Sniper has been installed. So now we get to move on to getting the Sniper set up. Real simple, keys on already. Starting the unit for the first time and getting it setting up to running is real simple. They have a setup wizard in here. All it is a handful of questions that it's going to ask you about the setup in your car, and it'll help develop a base map. Don't get me wrong, they all need some tweaking, but the base setup is usually really good on these things. So we have a 4-injector 4150 unit. We're going to select that, go to next. This is an 8-cylinder Ford FE. This is a 390 version. We're going to go 390 cubic inch. Target idle speed, I usually do right around 750. Stock cam in this thing. Next, do we have any power adders? None. The ignition types, we are using a Hyperspar distributor. It's got the Hall effect sensor in it, and we'll be able to completely control timing with the Sniper unit, which is awesome. So Hyperspar distributor, wide open timing, somewhere around 30 is usually pretty good. We'll start there, or maybe 32. We'll do 32. Ready to go now. Uploading a map. Hear the pump come on. All right, Khalil, wave the magic wand so we can start this thing. Alright, so another successful startup on a Holley Sniper. We still have a couple more things to do under the hood, some hosing, some clamps and stuff like that. This was a larger job than just the EFI system, but so far everything looks great. But if you've made it this far into the video, it's because you want to know how to win that Sniper unit that I mentioned earlier. It's real simple. All you have to do is click the link in the description and go to our merch store, and any single piece of merchandise that you buy, whether it be a shirt or a hat, gives you 1 entry into the giveaway. Also, any $100 that you spend will give you 2 extra entries. So make sure to hurry and place your orders, because we're only going to be running this giveaway through the end of May. All right, so let's get back to work. We can get this thing back out on the streets and live the rest of its life as an EFI vehicle. Hood's back on, engine bay's buttoned up. It's time for our first test drive. Spent a lot of time getting this EFI system together. Now we get to shake it down and see how she runs. I was able to just start it up and drive away. On carburetors, you may have an electric choke, wait on a high idle for it to drive properly. With the EFI system, it dials into idle really quick. The fueling is exactly how you want it to be for every given temperature. It makes for a really good experience. It is hot in Florida, dude. I think that it's definitely got a little bit more pickup. We did change to an aluminum intake manifold, so different runner design, a little bit more volume, so I'm sure that helped in the overall performance. Everything works great, just the way it should be on an electronic fuel injection system. So it's very responsive as far as the throttle. There's so many different options for the gauges, from analog gauges to digital gauges or mix between the two. Overall, I love the Holley Sniper. If you're considering an upgrade from the carburetor to an EFI unit, this is the way to go. They're real simple. You could do it at home in your garage. Realistically, 4-wire hookup and this thing is running. Couple it with an in-tank fuel pump and I think it's an awesome EFI system for any vehicle. That's a wrap for this guy. Now we can send it on down the road to the customer. A lot more reliable, a lot more fun to drive. If you have any questions or comments about a Holley Sniper install, leave them in our comments section below. And also don't forget about our giveaway. Hit the link in the description so you can go and enter your chance to win a Holley EFI Sniper kit. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with all the cool projects that we have going on, especially this cool Chevelle back here Tim's fabbing on. Best of luck to you guys in the giveaway and we'll see you again next week. Welcome to the pack.
Welcome to the pack.